All right, so we got a great interview here. Someone sent us with Mago Moore. You know, he's got some really good insights into motivation, productivity, and, just breaking bad habits.
Yeah, he's got a really interesting approach.
Yeah, and today we are going to take a deep dive into his strategies for transforming your life and achieving your goals, and all while navigating this crazy world of AI.
Yeah, and the thing about Morris is that he's really engaging. He uses real-world examples,
Yeah.
to illustrate his points.
So it's not just theory, it's stuff you can actually apply.
Exactly. And one of the things that really stands out about Moore is that he doesn't just, blindly tell you to follow your passion.
Right.
He understands that practicality matters.
Yeah, the real world.
He talks about this Maslow's pyramid approach.
So, like, before you quit your job and you go chase that dream, make sure you've got the basics covered,
Exactly.
food, shelter, the essentials.
Yeah, build that solid financial foundation first, and then work on your passion project on the side. Gradually growing it, and eventually when it can support you financially, then you make the leap.
That makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people can relate to that. Are you working a job you might not love to fund a passion project?
It's a common situation.
Yeah, Moore's approach might be perfect for you. He encourages us to chase our dreams strategically without jeopardizing our stability.
I like that.
Now, Moore throws out this daily challenge that I love. He says, do at least one thing you don't feel like doing every day.
That's a good one.
He says it builds willpower.
This raises an interesting question. What's one thing you've been putting off, maybe even dreading, that you could tackle today just to flex that willpower muscle?
Oh, I've got a whole list.
You too.
And Moore actually dives into this concept of the jinete and elefante, the rider and the elephant, which represent the rational and the emotional parts of our brains.
Okay, I can see where this is going.
He says the rider wants to make those smart choices, do those hard things, but that elephant, the elephant is all about that instant gratification.
It's so true. And think about it. We live in a world of instant everything.
Right.
You can order almost anything online and have it delivered in hours.
Right.
Social media feeds us constant bite-sized bits of information and entertainment. It's no wonder our willpower muscle gets a little flabby.
I know, it's true. And Moore actually shares a really funny story about this. It's about wanting a Sony Vaio, one of those sleek early laptops, so badly, but he made himself wait to prove to himself that he could resist the impulse.
That's delayed gratification.
It is a classic example, and he believes that flexing that willpower muscle makes us less susceptible to those impulsive urges in the long run.
That makes sense.
Okay, next up, we've got Parkinson's law, and Moore illustrates this with this great analogy of a trastero.
A what?
A trastero. It's basically a storage room, and the idea is the more space you have, the more stuff you tend to accumulate.
You fill it up.
Exactly. And he says the same goes for time. We tend to stretch out those tasks to fill the time we have allotted, even if we could finish them sooner.
That's so true.
Yep.
I'm guilty of that.
Oh, me too. And I think a lot of people listening probably are as well. But isn't some pressure good, for productivity?
That's a good question. How do we find that balance between, setting deadlines and not overwhelming ourselves?
Moore suggests setting interim deadlines and breaking down those huge tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Oh, like mini deadlines.
Yes, exactly. And by creating those mini deadlines, we kind of trick ourselves into being more efficient.
I like that. And you get that sense of accomplishment as you check things off the list.
Right. Those little wins keep you motivated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now let's shift gears a little bit to this ever-important topic of attention.
Yes.
And Moore uses this really quirky and memorable analogy to highlight this. It's about fishing with strawberries and cream.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
The idea is if you're trying to catch fish, you need to use bait that appeals to them, not something you personally find tasty.
Makes sense. So like those commercials that completely miss the mark, they might be entertaining to the creators, but they don't resonate with the target audience at all.
Exactly. And what's great is that Moore is honest about his own struggles with attention.
Right. He's human.
Which makes his advice even more relatable, and he even suggests this little experiment.
Oh, I love experiments.
He calls it the train ride observation, and it's really simple. Have you ever found yourself mindlessly scrolling through your phone, even when you had important things to do?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Moore's experiment is simply observing how often people instinctively check their phones, even when attempting to read or work.
It's eye-opening.
It's about becoming aware of how these distractions are constantly chipping away at our attention spans.
So true. And Moore isn't saying ditch your devices. It's about being more mindful.
Right, using strategies.
Yeah, you're managing that relationship.
Exactly. And speaking of technology, we can't ignore AI.
The elephant in the room.
Mm. Moore thinks it's the greatest time-saving tool ever invented, but he's also cautious about all the hype and the fear surrounding it.
Right, it's a double-edged sword.
He acknowledges that AI will replace some jobs,
Mm-hmm.
which is concerning.
Yeah, a lot of people are worried about that.
Yeah. But he also emphasizes the incredible potential of AI.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
Definitely not. Moore believes that AI can free us up for more strategic thinking and pursuing our passions.
So working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. It's about adapting to this new reality and becoming an expert in your field so you can leverage AI effectively.
So it's a tool.
It is. And like
Yeah.
any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It's up to us to develop the skills and the wisdom to harness its potential while mitigating its risks.
And that brings us to a really important point that Moore makes about the future of work in the age of AI.
Okay, what's that?
He encourages listeners to embrace continuous learning.
I like that.
And to become experts in their fields, he argues that AI can be a powerful tool for augmenting human capabilities.
So not replacing us, but making us better.
Precisely. All right, let's switch gears to networking now.
Okay.
Moore believes in building relationships based on genuine care and mutual benefit. And he even cites Cipri Quintus as an example of someone who excels at this. He's known as the king of networking.
What's fascinating about Quintus is that he doesn't view networking as this transactional activity for him. It's about building genuine relationships and connecting people in a way that benefits everyone involved. He's constantly looking for ways to introduce people who might be able to help each other.
It's not about what you can get, but what you can give.
Exactly. And it's a refreshing approach.
It is. It challenges us to assess our own motives. Are we focused on building genuine connections or just chasing personal gain?
Good question to ask ourselves.
And Moore actually contrasts this with the kind of networking that's solely focused on what you can get out of the relationship.
Right, those takers.
Exactly, rather than what you can contribute.
He encourages us to be givers, not takers, and to focus on building goodwill and a reputation for being someone who genuinely wants to help others.
Because that kind of reputation is invaluable.
It is. It creates a network of people who are not only willing to help you, but also excited to see you succeed.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already in part one. From finding your passion and conquering procrastination to understanding your audience and harnessing the power of AI.
Moore's insights are definitely giving us a lot to think about.
They are, and we've only just scratched the surface. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into his insights and explore how you can apply strategies to transform your own life and achieve your goals.
Can't wait. Welcome back. We're diving deeper into Malcolm Moore's wisdom today.
Yeah, we've been talking about his strategies for productivity attention, even AI, but he doesn't stop there.
Right. He gets into this whole idea of personal development.
Which he sees as, crucial in this rapidly changing world.
Yeah, almost like a superpower in the age of AI.
It's true, and he emphasizes that personal development isn't just, attending those fancy seminars.
Or reading all the self-help books.
Right. It's about constantly, looking inward, learning, growing.
A continuous process.
Yeah. And he actually uses his own experiences. He's a lifelong learner. He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah, he's been through a lot.
He uses those to illustrate these points.
Like he talks about how he never knew what his income would be from one month to the next.
Right. That uncertainty could be scary for some people.
It would be for me.
But he sees it as exciting.
Wow.
It's forced him to adapt and reinvent himself and really embrace the unknown.
So he's always pushing himself outside his comfort zone.
He even compares personal development to maintaining a successful marriage.
Oh, I like this.
He jokingly says that, if you don't nurture your marriage, your partner might find someone else who will.
It's a funny analogy.
It is, but it drives home the point.
It does. You have to constantly invest, adapt, and improve.
It's true. What I found fascinating was Moore's take on flow state.
You mean those moments when you're so absorbed in a task that time just flies by?
Exactly. We all have those moments, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And he contrasts these flow state tasks with the ones we tend to procrastinate on.
Oh, yeah, those energy-draining activities.
Right, the ones that require, tons of willpower.
For those tasks, he suggests the Pomodoro technique. Set a timer for 25 minutes of focused work, followed by a 5-minute break.
But he says if you're naturally in a flow state, don't interrupt it.
Yeah, ride that wave.
Ride that wave of focus and productivity as long as you can.
I can relate to that.
I can too. There are times when I get so absorbed in a project and I completely lose track of time.
It's a wonderful feeling.
Now, shifting gears a bit, one thing that really struck me was Moore's focus on authenticity and long-term thinking, especially when it comes to building a personal brand.
Yeah, he's not a fan of those get-rich-quick schemes you see all over the internet.
He criticizes that mentality a lot, especially, in the world of personal development and entrepreneurship.
It's all about instant gratification.
Right, he contrasts this with brands that have stood the test of time, like La Viuda, El Almendra Shiseido.
Yeah, those classic brands.
They focused on quality consistency and genuinely serving their customers. Their success comes from that long-term vision.
So they're playing the long game.
And Moore encourages listeners to adopt that same long-term perspective when building their own personal brands.
It makes sense.
It's about building trust, delivering value, becoming someone people can rely on, not just chasing quick fame or fortune.
I like that.
He even shares a conversation he had with Tony Segara.
The advertising executive.
Yes, and Segara's advice for building a strong personal brand was always think that it will last a lifetime.
Wow, that's powerful.
It's simple, but it speaks volumes, right?
It does. It's about integrity and creating something that endures.
Exact. Making decisions that align with your values and building a legacy that you can be proud of.
Now let's circle back to this idea of attention, which we talked about in part 1.
Yes, that's a big one.
Moore offers some great advice for grabbing and holding people's attention in this world of constant distractions. He says that a lot of speakers and businesses, they make this mistake of focusing on what they find interesting
Right.
rather than what resonates with their audience.
And he brings back that brilliant analogy of fishing with strawberries and cream.
Love that analogy. You got to use bait that the fish will actually go for.
It's true. It's a reminder to step outside of your own perspective and really consider what will connect with the people you're trying to reach.
What are their needs and their interests?
And Moore also points out that all those notifications and digital distractions have basically turned many of us into dopamine junkies.
It's true, always seeking that next hit of digital stimulation.
It's so true. Do you ever catch yourself, mindlessly scrolling through your phone, even when you have a million things to do?
Oh, all the time. Guilty as charged.
Moore suggests a little experiment.
I'm intrigued.
Observe how often people instinctively check their phones, even when they're trying to read or focus on work.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It highlights how these distractions are subtly chipping away at our ability to focus.
And he offers some practical tips for combating this.
Like what?
He encourages listeners to practice delaying gratification, setting aside dedicated time for focused work with their devices in airplane mode,
So creating those boundaries.
and being more mindful of their digital consumption habits.
Training the muscle of attention.
It's true. Just like you would train a physical muscle, gradually increase your ability to focus and resist distraction.
Makes sense.
And you build that stronger foundation for deep work and creative thinking. And one thing I really appreciate about Moore is that he's honest about his own struggles.
Yeah. He's not perfect.
He admits that it's an ongoing battle, especially in today's hyper-connected world.
But he's trying.
He is, and by acknowledging the problem and actively working on solutions, we can reclaim control.
Direct it to what matters.
Exactly, and this becomes even more critical in the context of AI.
Right, because as AI gets more sophisticated and automates more tasks,
Yeah.
our ability to focus, think critically, and be creative will become even more valuable.
Moore says that AI is a tool.
Like any tool.
It can be used for good or bad. It's our responsibility to develop the skills and wisdom to harness its potential while being aware of its risks.
I like that perspective.
He encourages us to see AI not just as a disruptor, but as a force for good.
Like imagine a future where technology is actually helping us, not the other way around.
Right, a future where we have more time to focus on things that matter.
Our passions, our relationships, our personal growth.
I love that. Now I want to hear Moore's thoughts on networking. He seems to have a unique perspective on this that goes beyond just the typical business card exchange.
Yeah, he emphasizes building authentic connections.
Based on genuine care and mutual benefit, he even mentions Suprikintis again, who we talked about earlier,
The king of networking.
as someone who really gets this.
And for those who might not know what makes Quintus so special,
What sets him apart?
he doesn't see networking as transactional at all.
Right, it's not just about what you can get.
It's about building these genuine relationships that benefit everyone involved
He's always looking for ways to connect people who can help each other share knowledge and resources.
and create that supportive network.
And Moore even tells a story about how Quintus went above and beyond to help him during a personal challenge, even though they weren't that close at the time.
That's amazing.
It shows the power of those relationships.
Built on genuine care and concern for others.
It's about being someone people can trust and rely on, not just someone looking to get something out of the interaction.
More contrast this with that kind of networking, where it's all about personal gain. And he argues that this type of networking is ultimately empty.
Right. It doesn't
It
last.
doesn't, he encourages us to be givers, not takers,
I like that.
to approach networking with this mindset of abundance and generosity.
It's like that idea that the more you give, the more you receive.
Exactly. And it's not just about material things. It's about sharing knowledge, offering support, making connections that create value for others.
More challenges us to rethink our whole approach to networking.
It's not about collecting those business cards or attending every single networking event.
It's about cultivating those genuine connections.
Based on shared values, mutual respect, and a desire to make a positive impact.
He reminds us that the most successful relationships are built on trust, authenticity, and a willingness to go the extra mile for the people we care about.
This deep dive has been so insightful so far.
It has. Moore's perspectives on everything from productivity and attention management to AI and the future of work have been incredibly thought-provoking.
We've covered so much ground.
And there's still more to uncover. Get ready for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore Moore's insights on communication and the art of public speaking. All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into this interview with Mago Moore.
Yeah.
We've explored his strategies for productivity, navigating the world of AI and building those genuine connections through networking. But now let's talk about something that I think a lot of people really dread:
Oh, yeah.
public speaking.
I know it can be scary.
Moore himself is a captivating speaker, but he emphasizes that effective communication. It
Yeah.
isn't just about, natural talent.
Right. Not everyone's born with it.
He believes it's a skill that you can learn and improve with practice.
And dedication.
Yes, and he actually points out that most people are terrified of public speaking.
I think that's true.
He even calls Spaniards and Latinos in general pathologically shy,
Right.
even though they often appear really outgoing.
Interesting.
He thinks this fear comes from a lack of confidence and preparation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And honestly, I can relate to that. Have you ever felt that nervousness, before a presentation?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But Moore makes a great point. Public speaking is a valuable skill.
It is, regardless of your profession.
It is. He argues that being able to clearly and persuasively articulate your ideas is crucial, whether you're pitching a product, presenting in a meeting, or even, just trying to convince a friend of something.
Communication is key.
It is. And he uses this really interesting analogy,
Right.
comparing a good speech to a striptease.
I've never heard that one before.
I know, it's interesting. He says that while seeing someone naked might be momentarily intriguing, the real allure is in that gradual reveal.
The anticipation of the build-up.
Exactly. It creates that suspense, keeps the audience hooked.
This is an art form.
He sees public speaking as an art form, not just a dry delivery of information.
I love that.
It's about storytelling pacing and creating those aha moments.
Those moments that surprise and engage the audience.
Exactly. And Moore also talks about the importance of authenticity and connection when you're speaking.
Being yourself up there.
He emphasizes the need to kind of play with the audience,
Okay.
be present and responsive to their energy, not just focused on reciting, a memorized script.
Right, reading off a piece of paper.
He even tells this story about presenting to a group of salespeople who just were not paying attention.
Oh, no.
And he just stopped
Oh,
mid-presentation
me too.
and asked them, "What's on your minds?"
I like that.
And their answers were all about, sales targets, commissions, the tools they needed to succeed.
So they weren't interested in the theory, they wanted practical advice.
Exactly. And that experience taught him a valuable lesson.
What's that?
Effective communication, it has to address the audience's needs and interests, not just the speaker's own agenda.
It's about meeting people where they are.
Connecting with them on an emotional level.
Makes sense.
Now, what about those dreaded Q&A sessions after a presentation?
Oh, yeah, those can be tough.
But Moore actually sees them as a valuable opportunity.
Really?
He believes Q&A sessions can be the most challenging but also the most rewarding part of public speaking.
Okay, how so?
He sees it as a chance to really showcase expertise,
Show what
And-
you know.
build rapport with the audience,
Enact with that.
and address any concerns that they might have. And he even encourages listeners to embrace those moments when you don't know the answer.
You mean when you get stumped?
Yeah. He suggests being honest and transparent,
I like that.
acknowledge the limits of your knowledge, and offer to follow up later with more information.
So it's about humility.
It is, and a willingness to learn from others.
It shows you're human.
It does, and he also stresses the need for continuous learning and development, especially in a world that's constantly changing. He believes the best speakers are the ones who are constantly seeking new knowledge, refining their skills, staying ahead of the curve.
Always learning, always growing.
Exactly, and he even compares public speaking to being a magician,
Oh, that's interesting.
which
Yeah.
is his background.
Right.
Both require practice preparation and, understanding how to engage and entertain an audience.
And that wow factor.
The wow factor, those moments that surprise and delight the audience, leave them wanting more.
More insights.
Moore's insights on public speaking are both practical and inspiring. He reminds us that it's not just about delivering information.
It's about connection.
It is. It's about connecting with people, building trust, and inspiring action.
And he encourages us to see public speaking not as a chore, but as a chance to share our ideas, make a difference, and leave a lasting impression on our audience.
So we've reached the end of our deep dive
We have
into this insightful interview with Mago Moore.
a lot of great stuff.
We've covered a wide range of topics from productivity and attention management to AI networking and the power of communication. What are your biggest takeaways? What resonated with you the most, or maybe even challenged your existing beliefs?
For me, it was Moore's perspective on personal development as an ongoing journey.
Right, not a destination.
It's about constantly evolving and becoming the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And his reminder that success isn't just about achieving goals, but about embracing challenges and learning from them.
I completely agree. His passion for learning and his genuine desire to help others, it really shines through in this interview. What about you listening in? What resonated with you from Moore's interview? What one action inspired by his advice will you commit to taking this week? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep exploring the depths of knowledge.